So here are my top 10 lenses that I have ever used for the Canon EF system. So originally this video was going to be about the brand new Canon EOS R5 and my first impressions, taking it out of the box, using it for the first time, what I really thought, how it felt. But I don't have a Canon EOS R5. It's back ordered, it's been delayed. I just got an email the other day saying that it was going to be another 3 to 4 weeks. But it got me thinking, without a new body to play with, what else do I have? Lenses. So it got me thinking about my lenses, the lenses I've had in the past, the lenses I've had now, and really got me thinking, like, what are my favorite lenses? So I keep track of everything. I keep track of all the lenses that I've ever had, and I counted how many that I've ever had, and I've used about 40 or 45 lenses over the last 20 years or so. All different types, all different brands, but all for the Canon EF system. So basically what I did is I picked out a bunch that I knew that I really liked, and I gave them ratings based on the image quality, based on the handling, and then fun, how much fun I had using each lens. And I applied those numbers to all the lenses that I've had, and I came up with my top 10 favorite lenses for the Canon EF system. And we've done videos here on this channel for most, if not all, of these lenses. So I'm going to put links in the description so you can check out our full review of each of these lenses. So without further ado, let's get started at number 10. This is the Canon 40mm f2.8 lens. And I know what's so special about a 40mm 2.8 lens. This is a really, really small lens. And the reason I got this was basically just to be able to use my camera in situations where I ordinarily wouldn't take my big camera, big lens out in. I can attach this to a DSLR, I can attach this to a full frame mirrorless camera, and basically turn it into like a pocket camera. The image quality is pretty good, but it's a lot of fun to use, and it's super, super cheap, like 150 bucks. So if you're ever finding yourself in a situation where you're like, you know what, I really want to bring my camera, but I don't want to carry around my big camera, big lens, get yourself a pancake lens like this. This is the Canon 40mm 2.8 lens. So number 9 is a fisheye lens. It's actually the Canon 8 to 15mm fisheye lens. It's a zoom fisheye lens, which means at 8mm, it's a fully circular image with black surrounding it. And at 15mm, it gives you a rectangular image in the fisheye format. A lot of fun to use. This probably would be higher on my list if I was a better fisheye shooter. I know people are really into it and really do a good job with it. I feel like I really don't. So if you love shooting fisheye, if that's a big thing for you, maybe this is higher on your list. So number 8 is not a Canon lens. It's a Sigma 35mm 1.4 art lens. When Sigma came out with these new line of lenses several years ago, I jumped on a chance to get a really high quality lens for my Canon camera at sometimes half the cost. And this Sigma 35mm lens was really, really nice. It's great to be able to shoot at a wide angle like that. 35mm is a wide angle, wide open at 1.4, and get really superior image quality. That led me into getting other Sigma lenses and other off-brand lenses that I probably wouldn't have gotten before. The Sigma really, really hit it out of the park with these new line of lenses. The sport lenses, the contemporary lenses, the art lenses, they do a really great job with that. So at number 8 is the 35mm f1.4 art lens from Sigma. Now, keeping in the theme of the wide angle, wide aperture lenses is the Canon 24mm 1.4 lens. It's really great to be able to shoot a really wide angle, like 24mm, wide open at 1.4. You get some really nice, unique images. I love shooting with that lens. High quality, high image quality, very nice to use. A little bit more expensive than the Sigma version of that lens, but I find the image quality for the Canon was actually a lot better than the Sigma on this one. So if you're looking for something a little bit different, more unique, high quality lens, the Canon 24mm 1.4 lens. I used Mark 1, I used the Mark 2. The Mark 2 was a little bit better, but if you could find the Mark 1 version for a little bit cheaper, grab that. Really great lens. Okay, number 6, I think? 6. Is the Canon 85mm 1.4 IS lens. This lens has a lot going for it. It's wide open at 1.4, and it's got image stabilization, which means you could basically use this camera to shoot handheld in really dark situations. So by now you might be saying, well, where are the zoom lenses? We're halfway through, I haven't seen any zooms. And you'd be right, there aren't any zooms on this list. I mainly shoot prime lenses, and I don't have anything against zooms. I have some, they're really great, but when I factor in the fun part of it, sure, they're reliable, they always get the job done in a pinch. When I really need to get a shot, when I'm really on the clock and I have to get it done, I will use a zoom lens. But as far as having fun, I really love the primes for that stuff. So moving on to number 5 is another Sigma lens, the Sigma 50mm 1.4 art lens. Now, after I had gotten the Sigma 35mm art lens, this lens came along a year or so later, and I jumped on a chance because 50mm is my favorite focal length. Now, let me just show you what I'm up against here, and it's a fallen tree. We had a storm come through here, the hurricane that hit Florida came up through the northeast and took down a ton of trees in the area. So my path is blocked. So I'll just kind of hang out here and finish this part. 50mm, like I said, is my favorite focal length for some reason. So the Sigma 50mm 1.4 art lens, of all the 50s I've used, including the Canon lenses, I've used the old Canon 51.2 lens. This Sigma 1.4 is better than any of them. I really, really loved using it. That lens was attached to my camera all the time. So for that reason, it's my number 5 all-time favorite Canon EF lens. For number 4, we're gonna go ultra wide. It's the Zeiss 15mm 2.8 Distagon lens. Now this is my first ever ultra wide lens, anything wider than 24mm. And I shopped around everywhere to find one that worked for me best. And not only did it have superior image quality, but it also didn't have that large bulbous front element. So I was able to use filters, circular polarizers, neutral density filters, right on the front of the lens, which was, a really big deal for me. But the image quality was the biggest factor. The image quality of this lens is absolutely amazing. It's expensive. Don't be afraid to buy used. We always say that. Don't be afraid to look around and get a used version of these lenses when they're expensive. You can get them for a lot cheaper, and usually, as long as they're in good shape, you're not losing anything on quality. So that was number 4. Heading into the top 3, we're gonna sit down for this part. Okay, number 3 on the list is a lens that is probably the best image quality of any lens I've ever used, but it's big and it's heavy and it's hard to carry around. It's the Canon 300mm f2.8 lens. An absolutely amazing lens, the best image quality, image stabilization, a ton of fun to use. Just, I can't really carry it with me all the time unless I'm really out dedicated to shooting, just on a photo type thing. Really can't bring it out casually just because of the size and weight, but an amazing, amazing lens. All right, now we're down to the top 2. And there's been times when I took these 2 lenses with me, and just these 2 lenses alone out with me all day, and had a great time doing it. Number 2 on the list is the Canon 24mm tilt shift lens version number 2. Now, if you've ever used a tilt shift lens, you know how much fun they can be. If you haven't, I urge you to watch my video, look at it in the comments below, check the link, watch my video on using a tilt shift lens. It's a ton of fun to use. You can get very, very creative with it. The 24mm focal length is perfect for this, to be able to use the tilt effect to really, get all kinds of different, really wonderful effects. Being able to control perspective with the shifting, it's just an amazing lens. Image quality is second to none. I have so much fun with this lens. It's always, always in my bag no matter what. And the top number 1 lens I have ever used for Canon EF is the Canon 135mm f2 lens. An absolutely amazing lens. This is the oldest lens that I've had. I've had this since 2004, and I am never without it. The focal length is perfect for portraits. It's actually perfect. 85mm is usually perfect for portraits. I find with kids who are obviously smaller, 135 is even more perfect for them, because you can keep that same distance by cropping it a little bit tighter for the smaller kids. 135mm focal length is perfect. f2.0 wide open shooting with this lens is absolutely amazing. I prefer this any day to a 70-200 2.8 zoom. I usually have this with me. You can see how small it is. It's very light. It's under $1,000, so compared to a lot of these other lenses, very inexpensive. Just superior bokeh. The background blur is absolutely wonderful. Sharp, when the spots that are in focus, the focus points are absolutely tack sharp. The best lens, best image quality. I mean, obviously it's my favorite. It's number 1 on this list. Absolutely, if you ever had a chance to use this, if you can ever try it out, a lens like this, the Canon 135 2.0 lens, absolute best lens that I have ever used for the Canon EF system. Like I said, I'm going to put links in the description below to all the reviews that we did for these lenses. I'm also going to put links in there so you can check them out on Amazon if you want to shop around. Definitely check those out. These are my favorite lenses. I don't have them all anymore because I'm switching over to the RF system, so I've replaced a few of them, but I still use ones like these, like the 135. I still use a lot of these lenses. They go great with the RF system, and hopefully I have a new R5 camera to try them out on soon. I'll definitely get a video together as soon as I have that in hand. But I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you next time.